So once again, today we're going to be working with unit rates, which is what you just had your quiz on, so that means you understand unit rates. But we're going to be working with fractions. And whenever you put fractions into anything, it seems like people forget what they need to do. So to help us out with these problems, we're going to be using modeling, just like we would model any type of fraction. For instance, if I asked you to model 1/2, how could you show 1/2 with a model? Do you know what I mean by modeling, Josh? Wouldn't that be 1/2? Okay. If I wanted to do a rectangle that showed 1/4 pieces, how many pieces would I need in my rectangle? 4 pieces, right? Isn't that what the denominator means? The denominator means how many total pieces, okay? So 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, and 1/4 would give you one whole, yes? Okay, so 4 1/4 pieces gives you one whole. Okay, so we're going to be using that basic knowledge today of fractions to solve these problems. So problem number 1 says Sue makes $4 for every 1/3 hour. Sorry, $4 for every 1/3 hour. How much does she make for 1 hour? Okay, so look at this fraction, 1/3 of an hour. So let's draw 1/3, a rectangle broken into thirds. Again, you need to be drawing this on your paper. A rectangle broken into thirds. And in each 1/3, she makes $4. So inside of each one of these squares, I'm going to put $4. For each 1/3 hour, she makes $4. So how much total money does she make, Austin? No, please face this way so I know you're paying attention to me. 4 plus 4 plus 4 gives us $12. Does that make sense how I got that answer? If not, ask me now because they only get harder from here. Question number 2. A factory makes 35 cars every 1/4 hour. How many cars does the factory make in 1 hour? So how many pieces do I need in my rectangle? 4 pieces in my rectangle. Okay. So that shows 1/4. 4 1/4 equals 1 whole hour. And in each 1/4 I have how many? 35. So 35 cars in 1/4 of an hour would be how many cars in 1 hour? How'd you get 140? All right, that would be the easiest thing to do, right? If you had a calculator, is to do 4 times 35. Do you agree? Everyone has a calculator in front of them, hopefully. So the easiest thing to do is just 35 times 4, which you said was 140. So the factory makes 140 cars an hour. Questions about this one? Starting to make sense what we're doing? Question 3. It rained 0.2 inches every 1/5 hour. How many inches did it rain in 1 hour? So when I draw my rectangle, how many total pieces do I need? 5. Well, it says 1/5, so that denominator tells me how many total pieces, which would be 5. Do your pictures need to be like beautiful and perfect? No. Your picture does not need to be beautiful and perfect, okay? We're going to attempt to have 5 pieces. Technically, they should all be the same size, but you can see mine are not all the same size exactly. It's okay. The biggest thing is that I am showing 1/5, okay? And to get 1 whole hour, I would need 5 1/5 pieces. So in each one of these things, I have 0.2 inches. That's how much it rained every 1/5 hour. Now again, let's use our calculator because we are allowed to. And instead of doing 0.2 plus 0.2 plus 0.2 plus 0.2, what can we do that's a lot easier? 0.2.5. It is just 1. So that 1 what? 1 inch. 1 inch. You could have 1.0. That means the same thing, doesn't it? 1.0 means the same thing as 1. But if you did it in your calculator is just going to say 1. It's not going to say 1.0. Alright. Am I going too fast? Alright. Question number 4. The car used 4 gallons of gas every 1/4 hour. This one's a little trickier. How many gallons of gas did the car use in 1.5 hours? So it's not just asking how much in 1 hour, it's asking how much in 1.5 hours. So first let's draw a picture that represents 1 hour. And again, we have fourths. So this would be 1 hour, right? And then if I wanted a half an hour, how many pieces would I need for a half an hour? 2 of these pieces, right? So again, 1 whole hour is 4 pieces because we have 1/4. And then for a half an hour, well, that would just be half of it, which would only be 2 pieces. Is everyone okay with how we gave the picture of 1.5 hours? Because we haven't talked about the gallons of gas yet. Jenna, how you feel about this? Okay, just checking. So in each one of these pieces, what number should I write? The 4. 4 gallons, 4 gallons, 4 gallons, 4 gallons, 4 gallons, 4 gallons. So instead of adding up all these 4s, it'd be easier to do 4 times 6, which is 24 what? Gallons. So you have to read carefully. You can't just be like, oh, I want it for an hour. Oh, I want it for an hour. Every one of these is not for an hour. So read carefully. Question 5. A crew of highway workers paved 4/15 mile in 15 minutes. If they continue at the same rate, how much highway will they pave in 1 hour? What do you know about 15 minutes versus 1 hour? What do you know about the relationship there? 15 minutes is 1/4 of an hour. Very well said. How many 15 minutes blocks does it take to get to 1 hour? 4, right? If we think about a clock, if it's 1 o'clock to 1:15 to 1:30 to 1:45 to 2 o'clock. So it would take 4 of them. And again, we could even say this is 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes, and it equals 1 hour. 60 minutes equals 1 hour. So I haven't even talked about the miles yet. I see the miles as 4/15. That's not a nice looking fraction, but I'm going to deal with that in a second. I needed to first know how many boxes I needed. And I needed 4 of them because 15, 15, 15, and 15 gives me 60 minutes, which is an hour. Now I'm going to go into my boxes and I'm going to put how much they paved for every 15 minutes, which was 4/15. 4/15, 4/15, 4/15. Now in the other ones we've just done 4/15 times 4, but I think it's going to be easier if we add these. What do you know about adding fractions? Let's review. Same denominator, which we have the same denominator. Add across. Do I add my numerators and denominators? No. Add just your numerators. 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 over what? Keep your same denominators. 16/15. Improper, correct? 15 goes into 16 one time. How many left over? So there's our answer. Every 15 minutes they pay 4/15 mile. So in a 60-minute period, 1 hour period, they pay 16/15, which is 1 and 1/15 miles. Questions about this one? This was a lot harder one. Yes, ma'am. You're working? Okay. If you're someone that uses the restroom, then you need to make sure that you get the notes from them when they come back, or you have to watch this on YouTube so you can fill it out yourself. Please do not turn in your paper blank and say, oh, I was in the restroom. All right, we good now on these? Let's look at number 6. A cola company can fill 6,400 bottles every 1/5 hour. How many bottles can the cola company fill per hour? Can you try this one, please? You try this one. 1/5 hour, and every 1/5 of an hour, it's 6,400. How many boxes do I need? 5 for 1/5. Okay. So that would give me 1 full hour. And in each one of these boxes, what do I put? All right. So you see, you know how to do this. The number is intimidating. You're right. That's a good way to say it. It looks like it should be more difficult because you have this big number. But it's the same process. Please do not shout it out. When you have a calculator, we don't need to be intimidated by these big numbers anymore. We don't need to be intimidated by decimals anymore either. What do I do to find the total then? The easiest thing to do to find the total. The easiest thing would be to do 6,400 times 5. Isn't it 32,000? 32,000 what? Well, let's look at number 7 then all together. Jeff hikes, this is a hard one. Jeff hikes 3/4 mile every half hour. How far will Jeff hike in 4.5 hours? 4 hours and 30 minutes is 4.5 hours. Everyone was okay with me saying 4.5 hours, right? 4 hours and 30 minutes. All right, every half hour. So, half an hour. All right, so 1 hour would be 3/4 and 3/4, which Caleb, you already figured out is 1.5 miles. So again, 1 hour is 1.5 miles. We okay with that? I'm holding up. So 3/4 and 3/4 give us 1 full hour, and that's 6/4, which is 1 2/4, which is 1.5. That's just me simplifying, right? Okay, so that's 1 hour. I want 4.5 hours. So 1 hour is 1.5, 2 hours is 1.5, 3 hours is another 1.5, 4 hours is another 1.5, and that half hour, so again, 4 hours here, that half hour is how many? The 30 minutes, because we have 4 hours and 30 minutes. So here's hour 1, number 2, hour 2, hour 3, hour 4, right? How far does she walk in 30, or how far does Jeff walk in 30 minutes? 3/4, right? Doesn't it say that he walks 3/4 mile every half an hour? And we know that 30 minutes is a half an hour. Okay, so 4 hours and 30 minutes. So we need to add all this together. All right. What do you think? There's a lot of different strategies that we could use to add these fractions all together. Obviously, I would focus on the 1.5s first. Does anyone have a strategy they think is the easiest thing to do this? All right, Julian, you raised your hand. I like that. How do we do it? You did one. You did 1/2 times 4? Or 1.5 times 4? You did 30 times 4. Okay. So I think the easiest thing to do when you have mixed numbers is to add your whole numbers. How many whole numbers do we have? 4. And then now let's add our halves. So 1/2, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves. So 4 halves would be 4 over 2, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 over 2. What's 4 over 2 equal? 4 over 2 equals 2. So this is going to simplify to what? 6. And then you have that 3/4 down there that we haven't talked about yet. So you take this 3/4 with it. So 6 3/4 miles. Woo. Every half hour she walks 3/4. So 1 hour she walks 1.5. If I want to know for 4 hours and 30 minutes, hour 1, hour 2, hour 3, and hour 4. And then I have my 30 minutes, or my half an hour, which was 3/4. So I add these together, and I get 6 3/4. Cody. You could change them into decimals. Yes, absolutely. If decimals are easier for you to work with, then you're always welcome to change things into decimals. Understand, though, that if it's on a test and there's multiple choice and the multiple choice answers are in fraction form, that then you're going to need to think about, oh, my decimal answer, what would that be like as a fraction? Okay, as long as you're okay with doing that, then yes, please, go ahead and use those decimals. This one might be easier, in fact, using decimals. Did you think it was? Okay. Number 8. Sandy is running at an indoor track. Each lap around the track is 3/4 of a mile. Sandy can run 1 lap in 4 minutes. How long will it take her to run 3 miles? So let's first figure out if one lap equals 3/4 miles. Go ahead and write that on your paper. It says that. Each lap around the track is 3/4 of a mile. 1 lap is 3/4 miles. And I want to know how many laps it's going to take to run 3 miles. Basically what I want to know is how many 3/4 will I need to equal 3 whole. Now if you want to use Cody's idea of changing these into decimals, you can. This would be 0.75, wouldn't it? 3/4 is 0.75. 0.75 times what is going to give you 3? How can you figure out that missing number? What's the opposite? Very good. 3 divided by 0.75 would give you 4. It's going to take 4 laps around the track. And we're not done with this question yet. If you did not want to change it into a decimal like that, you could have said 3/4 plus 3/4 plus 3/4 plus 3/4. That gives me 12 over 4, which equals 3. Okay? 4 times 3 miles. 4 times around the track. We needed 4 3/4 miles. Now, she's going around the track 4 times, and each time she goes around the track, it takes 4 minutes. So how many minutes total did it take her? I'll say that again. She went around the track 4 times around the track, 4 laps. 1 lap equals 4 minutes. So how many minutes did it take her total to go around the track? 16 minutes. Yes, they are getting harder. I'm sorry. So yes, we actually are going to stop now because you can see that the next question has a little asterisk by it, correct? Little star by it. A star by the next 4. So I would like for you to try the next 4, please. No, it doesn't mean they're harder. That means that was my cue to myself and cue to you that you were doing those 4 on your own. Sorry. Uh-huh. So you have 4 problems to do by yourself for this assignment. Yes, you do.